Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Church's Hollywood Moments. I am your host, Thomas J. Churchill, aka Church as my friends call me. If you're watching this channel and you liked it, and you subscribe to it, and you hit the notify button, that would make you my friend as well. Today we are in Long Beach, California, a nice little coastal town. It's been used in movies and TV, stood in as Miami in certain television shows and feature films as well. But we're not going to talk about that today. What we are going to talk about is the Queen Mary. Maiden voyage in May of 1936 until December of 1967. It is a hotel. It is open for tours. Most of all, people say it is haunted. One of the things that kind of intrigued me to come down here is the history of Hollywood that was on the Queen Mary. Who I'm going to talk about today is somebody I kind of really look up to of his work. I'm branded. If anybody that really knows me, I have a few tattoos of him, is Alfred Hitchcock. Hitchcock and the Queen Mary, there's some history there, and we're going to talk about that today. One project that Hitchcock was going to do, which never got made, was going to star the Queen Mary. Right after he did Psycho, before The Birds, Hitchcock was going to give us a movie called The Blind Man, and we'll discuss that later as well. I'll tell you what the plot was about that film. It was kind of cool because it had a lot to do with Disneyland as well as the Queen Mary. Sit back, relax, enjoy this video, and like, subscribe, hit the notify button for me. As we would say on set, action. Can you imagine people just standing on the sidelines, waving on by to their loved ones as they set sail to America? Maybe for the first time, maybe for the last time, maybe they never return back to their country. And loved ones are standing on the side, just waving, hoping the best for their voyage. This is the 30s, 1936. You know, it's kind of cool. The Queen Mary. Look how gorgeous she is. No wonder why Hollywood fell in love with it. No wonder why Hitchcock fell in love with it. Hitchcock would come on this ship all the time. He would use this way of traveling back and forth. He would sit there, he'd go over scripts, planning shots. It was on this ship that Hitchcock was going over his contract with Selznick. That's right, movies in Hollywood. Going on the Queen Mary. Look at this. Walking into history. Wow. Look at this place. Amazing. That's where people will check in if they're staying. Maid services doing their duties. You walk down in this corridor. Little bar area. Little lounge. And this is a hatch. It's kind of cool. Overlooking Long Beach. These rock formations are actually wrapped around the Queen Mary, kind of keeping it permanent. in its spot, which is kind of cool. That little white boat out there, that's coming back from Catalina Island. It's another tour out there that people do. They go back and forth to Catalina Island, which I never been. One day we will go, and I will take you guys along with me. What's really cool is, can you imagine back in the day, people coming, walking down these beautiful staircases here? Maybe Hitchcock, Winston Churchill, various actors. It feels strange. It feels comfortable. I guess the word I'm looking for is inviting. It just feels like the ship wants you to stay. Does that sound crazy? I mean, I'm no psychic, but it just feels like the ship is inviting you to stay. It's pretty cool. It's really cool. Look how long these hallways. Then you got these little sections that go off. But pretty cool. Hey, Jesus.
Hey, Mr. Church.
How are you? So you have a story you want to share with me?
I don't want to say story, but it's most like happened to me, you know.
Oh, what happened to you?
Yeah.
Let's stand over here because
sure.
you're in the...
Sure.
Go ahead.
Long time ago, the living newspaper for guests. The room 100 on M deck, 100 B deck, 100 A deck. And one day around 4 in the morning, I delivered newspaper all to the back. There's like a loud scream, a lady scream around 4 in the morning. I don't know, it's a ghost now, but this is something in the back, you know.
In what room?
No room, it's just by the elevators.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't know, somebody play around with me or it's a real ghost, I don't know, but this is my story.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
How long have you worked on the Queen Mary?
More than 20 years already.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you have many stories, or is that just the one?
For me, it's only one, you know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But other people...
Yeah, other people they
Yeah.
have their own story, you know, experience. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Now, is there any history to the B340?
Well, it's just beautiful the room they said was haunted, you know. I never.
Is it on this floor?
One deck down.
Is somebody in there, or is it
No.
Is it open?
No, it's not open.
Oh, I'd love to see it.
Yeah,
Can
right?
you show me?
No, I'm not like to do that.
Oh, so people say it's haunted. That
Yeah,
room.
yeah.
Oh, cool. All right, great. Well, thank you, Jesus.
You're welcome. Have a nice day.
I'm gonna check this out over here. So I just was speaking to Jesus. He just told me about a few little incidents. One he told on camera, but he said there was many that some hauntings that he occurred and other employees witnessed as well. But I just came down those stairs behind me, and as I turned this corner, a handprint just appeared, and I'm gonna show you. It's a little freaky because I don't know if it was there before, but the way my camera caught it, I think it just happened. So I got little goosebumps right now. I don't know. We are going to room B340, which is supposed to be the most haunted room on the Queen Mary. It's locked, as they tell me, because nobody wants to stay in it, as well as they don't want anybody to go in it. I got to the end of the hallway, and this room is B340. B340. As you can see, they took the numbers off, so nobody would come and stay here. But this room is supposed to be haunted. This one right in here. So there is nobody staying here, but if I did this... Anybody in there? Any spirits? Oh, look, Hitchcock. Hey, there's Hitchcock right there. So that's the scary room, as they say. It'd be kind of cool if somebody just opened the door. If somebody's in there, open the door. I dare you. No, I'm not going to tease ghosts. I don't do that. But anyway, this is the room, everybody, that people say is supposed to be very haunted, and nobody stays here no more. So they got their wish. They didn't want people in there. Nobody's going in there. This room right here. This is the back of the room. This is the area. I don't know what this area is. Oh, look at this. How nice. So I'm gonna go up to the observation deck right now to grab a drink. So here I am, sitting at the observation bar, having my Bloody Mary. It's actually very good, very spicy. Sometimes you need a little water to wash it down. So what's really cool about this ship and the history of this ship is perhaps Hitchcock was in this room deciding him and his wife are going to move to America. But you know what's really, really cool? There was a movie that Hitchcock was going to do called The Blind Man. Not too many people know about this. So The Blind Man was going to go into production right after Psycho. So basically, Hitchcock hired a writer. It was the writer that wrote North by Northwest. And after the success of that film, as we all know, he kind of put everything on the line for Psycho. It was a hurdle. The studios didn't want him to do Psycho. His wife believed in him, and they both put their own money in to shoot that film. So when that movie was a massive success, what was next for Hitchcock? He wanted to do something very different. He wanted to include TheQueenMary. He wanted to include this huge amusement park, which would have been Disneyland in California. So the story goes, The Blind Man, as the movie was going to be called, it was about a man who was blind and gets eyes donated to him. And he has this operation to have these eyes inserted where he can see. But he keeps seeing this image, this person, this character who would ultimately turn out to be the killer who killed the guy that his eyes were donated to the blind man. Following me here? So he had this idea to shoot this whole sequence, this suspense sequence where the realization of, oh my God, that's the killer, in an amusement park. So at the time, Disneyland pretty much just opened, and he proposed to Walt Disney to allow him to shoot his scenes in Disneyland. Walt Disney would not have it. He was furious that you would want to tarnish this amusement park with murder, where he kind of created the happiest place on earth for families and kids, and here you want to shoot a movie about murder in my park? Would not have it. So Hitchcock was a little bummed. But what's really cool is he said, maybe I can do that whole sequence on TheQueenMary, have this whole suspense ending where the blind man who now can see is chasing the killer, and finally when he gets to that ultimate moment, that one shot where he can get the killer, acid is thrown back in the blind man's face, making him blind one more time. So it sounds like a cool movie plot. It sounds like it would have been a great Hitchcock film. And ultimately, Jimmy Stewart was going to be playing the blind man, who Jimmy Stewart played, appeared in many Hitchcock films, Rear Window, Vertigo, Rope, and this would have been another teaming of Hitchcock and James Stewart, which is, man, just reading about that plot and that potential film, I would have loved to have seen that film. The film never got made, and Hitchcock went on to do The Birds. There you have it. He could have been sitting in this room pissed off at Walt Disney. Alma, if Walt would have allowed me to shoot my picture, things would have been different. I can't do a Hitchcock. I wish I could, but... We're locked in. Pretty cool. I'm the king of the world. No, you're not. Any Titanic fans out there? I think Jack could have absolutely fit on that piece of wood if Rose were moved over a little bit. That's pretty funny. That always bothered me. Hello. One of the cool things about this upper deck, this iconic path. So many people walked here to hang out, to overlook on the side here. There are so many soldiers during the war when the ship was called the Gray Ghost. But the one iconic person that I'm talking about in this video, Mr. Alfred Hitchcock, his wife Alma, and their daughter, was strutting along right back here, coming out of the restaurant, I'm sure, Winston's, Sir Winston's, and just probably going back to their room. So I decided to get a little lunch here on the Queen Mary. I stopped off at Chelsea's Chowder House, and I ordered one of their famous appetizers called crispy potatoes. And it's kind of cool. It's got some seasoning on it. I just dunked it, as you saw, with ranch dressing, and here we go. Delicious. One of those people that like to put different type of dressings on your French fries. Some people do ranch dressing. The traditional is ketchup. Everybody puts ketchup on it. Me, I like to do mustard. For some reason, it just brings me back to New York. It brings me back to like eating a knish off the stands. Order the double Angus beef burger, which I am going to devour right now. It's pretty cool. It's aged white cheddar, tomato, red onions, lettuce, house sauce, and it's on this incredible bun. But I like to add a little bit of A1 to it. And here we go. We're going to try it. It's pretty big. Look at the size of this. And it's splurted out. Wow. That is a tasty burger. What's really good is I asked my server, I was torn between the cheeseburger and the Reuben, because the Reuben looked like it was going to be amazing. So in the middle of me asking him, he just went, double Angus. You're not going to regret it. I said, wow. Anytime you guys are on the Queen Mary, you stop off at Chelsea's Chowder House and Bar. No matter what you get, it's probably going to be good, because everything here looks amazing. But my sea salt crispy potatoes that I had as an appetizer was fantastic. This burger, double Angus. Did I say that? Double Angus. Huge. So filling, so delicious. I would recommend.
My name is Tim. I will be your tour guide for the Haunted Encounters tour today. This is just one of 3 tours that we do offer here aboard the ship during the daytime, anyway. Now, we also have a history tour. We have an engine room tour that talks about the ship's engineering. I do give all 3 tours, and I know a lot about the ship. Dare I say more than maybe any other tour guide. So feel free to ask me a question regarding the ship in any capacity, because I promise you, I have not met a question yet that I could not successfully BS my way through. Just kidding, I would never lie to you. If I don't know the answer, that's partly why I have a radio. We can ask someone who does know, and then we'll both find something today. I know all these hallways do look the same, but here on A deck specifically, we're on A deck right now, these are the longest hallways on the entire ship. So these are 882 feet long from end to end, and we talked about that shear, right? If you walk out either of these doors and look down, you can't even see the other end of the hallway because that shear is so extreme. Now, if 882 feet sounds familiar, if anyone is a Titanic fan, the Titanic was 882 feet 9 inches long. So these hallways are only 9 inches shorter than the whole Titanic. Now in this space, I'm going to talk about 2 things. A, I'm going to tell you about my experience on the ship. Now I'll tell you I have seen my very first ghost. It was in our employee locker room, and the room is tiny. It's actually an interior cabin, which is the smallest cabins on the entire ship. It's about half the size of this landing here, and there's a men's changing room and a women's changing room in the space. So each one's about 6 feet wide, 8 feet deep. They just have a doorway cut out and a curtain hangs over it. So you walk through that curtain, you see the whole changing room in one shot. I'm walking in one day, I am literally 3 steps behind a gentleman wearing my same uniform, so I assume it's one of our other male tour guides. He walks into the men's changing room. So I'm right behind him, so I call out, "Coming in." I walk into the room, and I stop dead in my tracks, because the room is completely empty. Now I stand there for a second, feeling like an idiot, like, what's going on? Because I know I followed somebody in there, and it slowly starts to sink in that I've seen a ghost. Now I think the reason it took me a second to grasp this is because I always assumed, if I ever saw anything on this ship, that it would be floating around or see-through. And it was neither of those things. It was actually walking on the ground and just as solid as any one of you standing right here, right now. Now, it had no interaction with me. It had its back to me, so I think it was residual energy that I saw, and based on what he was wearing, I believe I know exactly who it was. September 18th, 1949, Senior Second Officer William Stark was invited by the staff captain to go up to the staff captain's quarters for a pre-dinner drink along with a few other officers when their watch had all ended. Now Stark was the first one to arrive up in that space, and while he waited on the others to show up, he thought, you know what, I'm gonna get my pre-game on just a little bit early. I respect that. So he told the cabin steward to go and find him a bottle of gin. Now this cabin steward went off to find a bottle, and he finds one in a foot locker, which seems suspicious to me that it wasn't in a liquor cabinet. And it has a handwritten label that says gin, in quotes. That seems like a red flag to me. But he hands that bottle to Stark anyway. Stark pours a very healthy glass, adds a lime twist, and shoots it back. Now we know, the report tells us that Stark had a severe cold at the time, so he couldn't smell anything. But he knew, as soon as he swallowed what was in that glass, that it wasn't gin. And around that time, the other officers began to arrive into the room. They noticed that Stark had a strange expression on his face, so they asked him what was the matter. And he joked about it. He said, "Well, gentlemen, I do believe I've just poisoned myself." But he didn't realize that's exactly what he had done. Because it wasn't gin in that bottle, it was actually carbon tetrachloride, which is an industrial cleaning agent they used to dry clean their uniforms. Traveling through dangerous conditions. This ship's last year out at sea, July 10th, 1966, the ship is traveling through a very dense patch of fog at 3:55 in the morning. Now it's still dark outside, they can't see a thing, they can't see where they're going, so the captain's up on the bridge and he orders these 38 doors to be closed, just as a precaution. Now down below decks, what happens is on the bridge, they just flip a switch, but down below decks, alarms start going off to let all the crew members know that these doors are gonna close in 35 seconds, so clear the way. It takes that full 35 seconds for the hydraulic pressure to build up to 700 pounds per square inch behind each of these 2-ton doors. And once that pressure is reached, these doors, they start sliding closed automatically, all by themselves. There is no sensor to stop the door once it starts moving, and it only takes 6 seconds to go from fully open to fully closed, so everyone knows to clear the path. Now up on the bridge, while all that's happening, they have an indicator panel like this one over here, and they're watching it because there is a light for each of those 38 doors that lights up when that door successfully closes below decks. One by one, each one is closing just like it's supposed to, except for one. Watertight door 13. That's flashing on the indicator panel, which means door 13 never closed. Now, the captain sends the chief engineer below decks to find out what's going on with it, but when he gets there, he's met with a horrific sight. There's a young engineer that's been crushed to death in that watertight door, keeping that door from closing all the way. When I say young, this engineer was 18 and on his 5th voyage with the Queen Mary, so he was a new hire. In fact, many of them believe that this pool is the reason the ship has been ranked one of the top 10 most haunted places in the world by Time Magazine and National Geographic as recently as 2008. Now, the reason they say that is because they think this is not just an old pool, but it is actually a vortex or a whirlpool of energy that is opened up, which allows spirits to pass from one realm into this realm. They think it exists here in the pool because the ceiling is made of quartzite. We are surrounded by water. Water and quartzite are both known conduits for spiritual energy. I've spoken with some of the mediums who have held overnight sessions in this pool, communicating with the spirits, and they have told me there is somewhere in the range, I kid you not, of 200,000 ghosts that haunt this ship. Now, the pool is also very famous because it seems to be the home to the most famous ghost we have aboard the entire ship. And it's not Walter from B340. This is actually the ghost of a little girl who goes by the name of Jackie. She has been seen a lot over the years.
There's where she sits. It's beautiful. Well, if you enjoyed this episode, I'm glad you took the voyage with me to the Queen Mary. I hope you had fun. I had fun learning more about the Queen Mary, as well as Alfred Hitchcock, and some cool stories and ghost stories. If you enjoyed this show and enjoyed Church's Hollywood Moments, do me a favor, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification button, so anytime I upload new videos, you'll get notified, and that's a wrap.